Good evening, everyone. Welcome to the Coach My Life Volume 4 launch, pre-sale, pre-launch. Welcome to the room, welcome to the space. Listen, I am your coach, Latoya Early. I am also the creator and visionary of this amazing project that I love so much. And so, listen, do me a favor as you guys are joining us on tonight, make sure you are tagging someone who could benefit from the strategies and the support of the coaches here at Chase Great University. If you have not joined us over the past several weeks as we've introduced different chapters of the Coach My Life anthology, you have definitely missed out. So make sure you go and check out the replays. We've spoken with mindset coach Latrice, and she shared her contribution to the chapter. We spoke with Coach Sandra on last week. I can speak, y'all. Our forgiveness coach, Coach Sandra, on last week. And let me tell y'all, tonight we get to speak to another one of my favorites. Y'all know all of the coaches of Chase Grade are my favorites, but we get to speak to one of my favorites. We get to talk to self-coach Tiffany Shoemaker on tonight. So if you have not heard of Tiffany, listen, you are missing out on a treat. Self-coach Tiffany Shoemaker is absolutely amazing. I hope that during our time tonight, she shares her self process, because I'm telling y'all, every time she say it out loud, I be writing it down. I'm writing notes like, okay, this is what I need to do, right? So make sure you have pen, make sure you have paper. For the next 25 minutes or so, we're gonna rock out and have good conversation. And we're going to talk to our co-author, our certified self-coach, Tiffany Shoemaker. It's enough of me talking. Let me go ahead and bring her to the stage, y'all. Let's welcome co-author. Listen, y'all, she's an author right now. Go ahead and check that. Just enjoy that moment for a quick second. We're talking to an author right now, right? We have co-author and self-coach Tiffany Shoemaker. Hello, ma'am. Welcome to the room. Welcome to the space. You know how we do here on the Coach. Well, we're not on the Coach My Life podcast, but it's the Coach My Life podcast. So go ahead and introduce yourself and let everyone know who you are, what you do, and the problem you solve for your clients.
Hello, everyone. Thank you, Coach Latoya, first for having me. I'm glad to be back on the Coach My Life podcast, even though it's not the podcast, but it is the podcast. Everyone, I am your self-coach, and I support moms of children with diagnosed disabilities in bridging the gap between self-sacrifice and self-care by learning to advocate for themselves the way they do their children. Pretty much the way that we work as moms in general is we get it done. And the issue that we face in getting it done is we forget that we exist. So we have to learn to see ourselves so that we are able to see our children and thus be able to take care of them in a way that they benefit and we benefit as well. So I'm glad to be here. I'm excited to share what I have written in the chapter. I'm definitely excited to share about the self cycle. So let's get into it.
Absolutely. I'm sorry, the self cycle, not the self process. Absolutely. You know what? And I share this so often. What I just absolutely love about what Tiffany does as a coach, mommies, we got a real big responsibility out here, right? Not only are we making sure that we're building and developing productive members of society, but we still got to take care of ourselves. And sometimes we can become so immersed into parenting. You guys know I have 3 boys. I have a 9, 10, and 12-year-old, y'all. Listen, my 12-year-old is getting ready to be 13. I know that's what comes after 12, 13 comes after 12, but I need y'all to understand that just knowing that he's getting ready to step into this teenage world is just, I don't know what I'm getting ready to do, because he already act like a teenager. So what am I going to do on this sweet 13? So I'm appreciative of mommies like Tiffany Shoemaker, of coaches like Tiffany Shoemaker. Now, yes, she does specify, or she does focus on moms who have children who have been diagnosed with some sort of special need, whether or not it's and Tiffany, you know what? But I don't want to be the one to list them. Can you just give us an example of the type of moms that you support as a coach?
We are supporting all of the neurodivergent moms in particular.
Okay, it looked like Tiffany froze for a minute, but she'll be back. I know she will because that's what we do and that's how we operate. But she and I, neuro, that's all I heard, and then we started to blink out. So once she comes back, she's gonna reiterate the type of mommies. There she is. Listen, y'all know how the internet goes.
Absolutely.
You
Absolutely.
already know. So let's try this again. Okay, so what type of mommies do you serve?
I'm supporting moms that have neurodivergent children. So, children who are on the autism spectrum, children with Asperger's, children who are in a space where they see the world differently than we do. They adapt to the world differently than we do. So, obviously, moms that have children with physical disabilities can benefit from anything that I coach my moms with neurodivergence. But it is specifically for my son. My son has autism and he was diagnosed at 2.5. And the reason why I talk about the diagnosis is because it can handicap us as mothers, meaning that we feel like we now have a disability in just being able to take care of our children. What the diagnosis does, though, it gives us the tools that we need and the resources that we need so that we can better serve our children. What we forget as we're reaching for those resources is that we also have to serve ourselves, and we forget to be a resource for ourselves. And then before we know it, we've gone 3 or 4 years helping our kids to grow and to develop and making sure that they have all of their needs met, making sure that we have this team around us that supports our children, and we realize we don't have any support for ourselves.
You,
So I truly focus on us. Go ahead.
that just because everything that you're saying is so real. Like I said, especially when you've learned that your baby needs a little bit more attention, when you've learned that your baby need a little bit more love, it's like Latoya who? Tiffany
Right.
who? Right? It goes straight to the children. So I just love that you focus in on that. And one thing so I got a question, and I'm not trying to be funny. I'm being really serious. Do you work with parents whose children either has had to, and I want to make sure I'm using the proper language and I'm saying this correctly. So if I'm not, for all of those mommies out there, I'm sorry, just correct me, let me know. Do you also work with moms who have to go through IEP testing
Yes,
for
absolutely.
their children? Okay. Okay. And then what about children who may or may not have been diagnosed with ADHD? Okay.
Absolutely. And the thing is, it's not about your children. I am not the advocate for your child. I can help you or guide you to resources for your children.
Got it.
I am the advocate for moms.
Okay.
I'm
And
all
just wanting to be clear. Right, right. So it's not that you're here to provide strategies for the child to navigate through their personal. It's for mom because listen, let's be honest. Once we learn that babies need a little more support, we're out here looking for
Yeah.
resources. We're trying to find the better school. We're trying to find the better caregivers. We're trying to find the better support. But who's supporting you while
Exactly.
you're finding the better support for your baby? And so
Mhm.
that's what self-coach Tiffany is here to do. She's here to be your support. Let me talk to mommy. Let me just talk to the woman, right? Let me
Yes.
let me let me just talk to Dana, right? Like let me just
Mhm.
talk to
Yep.
Sarah. Like I don't want to talk
You
about
have
your
a
kid.
name, by the way, and it's not mommy.
Listen, absolutely, absolutely, right. Let me talk to her and let you, you know, fill you in and engage with you and know that it's okay. And
Mhm.
while you may think that it's hard, or maybe you're navigating and you found a system, but are you taking the time out for self? And
Right.
so again, when I talk about your area of focus, it lights me up because I remember my younger brother being medically diagnosed with ADHD, but I remember my mom not knowing how to take care of herself because she was taking him to the doctor, standing on him at school, doing all of these things, plus having to work, having to pay the bills, having to, take care of me and my sister. So I definitely understand how a mom can get lost, you know, in her responsibility. And
Mhm.
so I want to talk a little bit more about that as and we're talking about what Tiffany does as a self coach. And of course, y'all know I got to talk about the self cycle because it's my favorite. But I want Tiffany to just share with you guys what are some signs, Tiffany, when a mom needs you? Like, what are some behaviors? What are some indicators that say, you know what? I need to go out and get support because I'm losing myself in this situation. I'm losing myself in my child, or I'm just not giving myself the adequate amount of time to rest, heal, and prepare for the next of whatever's to come.
I think you hit the nail on the head. The number one indicator of a mom that needs my support is the time piece. I don't have time for anything. How can I take time for myself when I have to take care of my child? How, especially when our children are young, and they require our attention, and they're full of energy, and we're absolutely exhausted. Burnout is number two. So time is the number one indicator. I don't have time to do this. That shows that you need to take the time to take care of yourself. The second thing is burnout. Well, I'm super duper tired. I don't have any energy to do anything. I feel like I'm overwhelmed and overburdened with everything that's pertaining to my son. So I can't even think about me. That is the time that we need to talk, because you are a number one priority. Anytime you're putting yourself on the back burner for the sake of your child, it's a problem. And the reason it's a problem is because once you are spent, mommy, who's taking care of your kids? Who's taking care of your child? A lot of the times, moms are by themselves. They don't have a support system. A lot of moms of neurodivergent children are single. We don't talk about that. We don't talk about how there is not a partnership in the home. And some of the things that my moms experience as well is they have a partner, they have a spouse, they have a significant other, and that significant other does not support in taking care of their child. So the weight is all on mom alone. So when you feel like you are overwhelmed, it is time for you to take time out for yourself. Anytime your cup is filled, it means that everything that you have in overflow is for your baby and anybody else that's connected to you. But run on an empty cup, and guess what? Nobody gets anything.
Absolutely.
So
Absolutely. Highlighting that piece, and I can't wait until we talk to a dad coach, of course. Just being able to add that father side of this, but I think it's very important to talk about this because, as you just said, we don't talk about it. We know that I don't know the percentage. I don't know what the statistics are, the ratio of single moms, who are challenged with children,
neurodivergent.
neurodivergent children, right? But I do know that even if there is a male present, or a spouse or a husband, 9 times out of 10, they're more consumed with the finances, the bills, the things that men do in the household, leading the household, where again, they're not giving that time. They're not taking those additional classes. They're not, going, and this is no shade to my dads who are involved and who are engaged
Right,
in
right.
their baby's upbringings. This, and I'm celebrating you as well, but
Thank you.
specifically, right, thank you, specifically to moms who have to do this alone. Where's your support? Who's refilling your cup? Maybe you're like, well, Latoya, I go to church every Sunday, or okay, Latoya, I got a prayer card that I get on every Wednesday. But how are you applying strategies to your day-to-day?
That's the thing. It's the day to day, because you can go to church on Sunday. You can you can be on your prayer call. You can have Bible class. But what are you doing at 5 o'clock in the morning, 7 o'clock in the evening, and everything that's in between? How are you
Mm-hmm.
taking care of yourself in the meanwhile? What are you doing in terms of having a meal? A lot of my moms that I talk to have an issue with having dinner. They will not prepare
Wow.
themselves a meal because they're preparing meals for their children who may have specific texture and taste
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
preferences. And
Mm-hmm.
so it's challenging, okay, you know what? My baby is going to be eating chicken nuggets tonight, and I don't want chicken nuggets, so I'm just not going to eat. I'm not going to eat. I'm not going to eat. I don't want it. But that means that you're going without nourishment. You're going without the energy and the fuel that you need, just your physical body needs, in order to make it through the next day. So at what point do we stop and say, okay, I need? And that's where
Yeah.
the self cycle comes in. It's about meeting your needs. It's about seeing yourself. What is it that you're doing so that you're able to better align with what you want to accomplish later?
Mm-hmm. I love it. I love it. I love it. Okay, listen, because I could sit here and talk to you about this all day. So we're gonna go ahead and move forward. I would like for you to share with our listeners your chapter. So we've talked about, who you are as Tiffany. We've talked about briefly who you are as Tiffany, but the more so the problem that you solve as a self coach. Who am I talking to? In your chapter, let's talk about the problem that you are addressing and you're helping the reader solve in your chapter.
So the main problem that we're addressing is understanding the foundation of ourselves, who we are and who we are created to be, so that when we do reach out, and that's our children and beyond, we have a solid foundation. The name of my chapter is Mommy, You Are Home. It's the 4 pillars to building your best self. And the reason why I chose that is because when we have a solid foundation, when we are standing on something that will not move, it allows us to flow. I don't like to use the word balance. It allows
Okay.
us to flow in the changes of life as they come, and we're not falling down. We're not hurting ourselves in order to make that happen. So one of the things that you learn within the chapter is also the self cycle, because we are going to combat the issues of mirroring, which is comparison to other people. We're constantly living up to the expectation, whether that's of the world or that's of our families, of um, anyone that may be saying this is the type of mother that you should be, because I don't do this, you shouldn't be doing this. We don't do comparison. It is the thief of all joy. So we want to make sure that we're living a life that is truly authentic to us, and that life should be in alignment with Christ. It should be in alignment with God. It should be in alignment with purpose. And when we start from there with our foundation, then we're able to then smoothly move through life. The thing is, sometimes we have to identify what it is that we're doing. And so the self cycle allows us to see ourselves. It allows us to identify what is actually happening that is keeping me from being in alignment with God. Because if I'm out of alignment with God, guess what? I'm out of alignment with everything. So that becomes our foundation. We're not comparing ourselves to the world. We're comparing ourselves to who God has called us to be. And if we are not that, then that's what we need to work on. And so with the self cycle, we start with the S. It's SELF. It goes around. It's counterclockwise. And the S is for sentiments. It is your mental attitude. Who is it that you are every single day? It's almost like a mantra that you have for yourself and that you live by. And if you have that in your mind, it does not matter what your feelings are. It doesn't matter what the language is that you're either saying or being told. It doesn't matter what it is that you're doing. Your mindset comes first. Your attitude comes first, and it controls the rest of everything else. A lot of times as moms, we are led by our feelings. We allow our feelings to dictate what it is that we're going to do. You know what? I'm tired. I don't feel like it today. So you don't. And then things start to build up, and then you become overwhelmed and you're like, oh my goodness, I don't know what happened. Well, you let your feelings lead your life. That's an issue. What is your mindset? I'm going to do what I need to do is not the right thing to say. It is doing what God has called me to do to the best of my ability. That's what it all boils down to. You can say it however it is that you want, but what has God called me to do? And what is it going to take for me to do that? That way, when your emotions come into play, I love emotions. I'm all about feeling your feelings. We got to feel it, we got to face it, and then we got to free ourselves from it. But a lot of times we allow the feelings to dictate. And what happens is we take ourselves backwards through the cycle as opposed to forward. Sentiments, emotions, language, and function. It's the doing that helps us to physically see where the problem is. Okay, I can identify, what am I doing? The question is not why, it's what. What am I thinking? What am I feeling? What are my emotions telling me? They are simply a signal to the brain that tells you there's something that you need to acknowledge. So when you start to feel any type of angst or anguish or anxiety, you are future focused. It's telling you that you're worried about the wrong thing. What's your mental attitude? Because that's going to help get you right back on track. And the same thing happens with our language. A lot of times what we do is we use the language that others have used to us and at us, and we begin to repeat that. And it allows us to limit ourselves in terms of our thinking. That ain't the way that works. If your language does not align with your mental attitude, then you need to go back to square one so that you are telling yourselves the thing that will help you to progress to the doing. And then once you are in your doing, you are able to take full account when it comes to self-awareness. Where am I? What's happening with me? Is this satisfactory for me? Does this truly align with me at my core, at my foundation? If it doesn't, guess what? You go back through the cycle and it becomes a simplistic thing. But a lot of times, what we do is we will compare ourselves and we're looking at expectations. I call it the lie. It's the limitations that we put on ourselves, the insecurities that we carry, and then the expectations that we try to live up to. The only standard that we are living up to is Christ. So get the other stuff out of your mind. As a mom, you're not comparing yourself to the next person, because guess what? Your children are not the next person's children. They don't think the same way. They don't move the same way. They don't eat the same way. They don't sleep the same way. They don't laugh the same way. They don't express themselves the same way. So why are you trying to fit into a box that you're not intended to? It is all about being true to self. Sorry, I went off on a tangent there. Got excited.
No, listen, it's okay. It's okay. When you start talking about your self cycle, I could feel it. And I'll tell you thoughts that I've just had as you were talking off the call, because I don't want to put you on the spot. But I want to say this, though. I do want to make sure that we share this for any mommies that are fighting, or if you're battling. This just kind of came up. If you're fighting or you're battling with, why me? Or, you know, why did God allow this to happen to me? Or, you know, and I'm sure that these are questions like, come on, Lord, why, you know, all of the whys. And I want you to ask yourself, why not you?
Amen.
Can I share your testimony a little bit with being in the program? Okay, so really quickly, we gotta go. Really quickly. So Tiffany has been in the program for, I don't even know, a couple years now. And we kind of went back and forth, right? She's been a self coach. She's been the coach to mommies for children. And I'm like, come on, Tiffany. I'm trying to pull it out of her. Like, come on, you're not just a self coach to any type of mommy. You're not a self coach to any type of mommy. And she's like, right? Very, very, very reserved about it. But I'm saying it because God allows us to go through things so that He can get the glory.
Amen.
And so the moment that she said, okay, Lord, I'm going to use my challenges, my experiences, my tears, my fight back to reach down and pull the other mommy up, generational curses were broken in that moment. And instantly, right? And so what, for my mommies who may be fighting with those thoughts, I come against those thoughts right now in the name of Jesus. We're not going to let the enemy make you think that there's anything wrong with you or anything wrong with your baby.
Amen.
Because that baby and you are going to do exactly what God needs you to do the moment that you accept this is what it is. Let's make it happen. And the moment that Tiffany walked into her assignment, it changed the game. And it just makes me smile. Okay, so we've talked about her amazing chapter, what you can get from her chapter. Last question, Tiffany, before we close out tonight. What do you want the reader to gain from your chapter?
I want you to see yourself. And I know that probably sounds cliche, see yourself. I want you to have the tool necessary, even if we never cross paths. The self cycle will help you to see you, to identify who you are, as long as you are willing to take a look. But that's the goal. It's for you to see you. I want you to see you the way that God sees you. And that's the thing. My mommies don't realize how remarkable they truly are. But you got to be able to see yourself as He's created you and in the purpose that He has for you.
So you're saying your chapter is like a mirror. It's a moment for you to do some self-examining. You know, that's the journey that I've been on for the past several months, is that self, because you can't grow if you're not willing to identify the gaps.
Right.
You can't get to the next level if you're not willing to sit down and self-assess and say, you know what, before I start pointing my finger at everybody else and what everybody else not doing and what everybody else should have done and all of this, right? Let me sit down, as my dad will say, but Michael Jackson said it. First, I look at the man in the mirror, right? And so I believe that in Tiffany's chapter, it's a mirror. It's a mirror for you to sit back and say, let me do some self assessing to make sure that I'm not overwhelming myself, that I'm not putting myself in these experiences or these challenges and not giving myself the time to heal, to rest, and be restored. So I definitely do appreciate that. Do you have anything? Before we close out, Tiffany, do you have anything additional that you would like to share to our listeners?
Absolutely. If there's any one important thing that you should always do, it is to choose. It's simply to choose. The challenges that we face specifically as moms, they're not as challenging as we allow them to be in our minds. It is a choice. We're either going to go left or we're going to go right. And even if we go right, it doesn't mean that we can't reverse to go left if right didn't work. So just operate in your power of choice every single day and don't forget to choose you.
I love that. Don't be afraid to pivot. I love that. I absolutely love that. Tiffany, where, and it's a long link, so I won't have you read it out. Is there, where can they find your book? Is it available on a site, or do you want them to just check the link in the caption?
You can check the link in the caption, and there is a site, but the site is just as long as well. It is still the Tiffany Shoemaker dash Coach My Life Volume 4. It's bit.ly. You can also go to my Facebook page, Tiffany Shoemaker. The links are in my bio. You can find me on Instagram. I am Tiffany Shoemaker, and the link is there as well. Just click and purchase.
Yes, the link is also in the comments. I'll be sure to make sure the link is in the caption so that it is clickable for you. Listen, this is Tiffany's first book. Okay. So I need you, and I need this your second book.
Mhm.
What's the first book? Wait a minute. Where was I at? What just happened? What's the first book?
It was another anthology. It was the First Class Life.
Oh, yes. Okay, yes, absolutely. Okay, so this is her second anthology. You're absolutely right. But we are still waiting on her full book that's going to talk about the self cycle. And I said I wasn't going to say it on since we were recording, but I might as well just say it because it need to happen. So make sure you are looking for in the year to come the self cycle book. Why is my husband over here taunting the dog? I don't really know, but she over here barking. I'm gonna need her to go somewhere. Okay, so listen, make sure you guys check out the link inside of the caption. All proceeds of this book goes to Tiffany. So every purchase goes back into her business. Every purchase goes into her pocket. Every purchase goes into her baby. So make sure if you know a mommy that could benefit from her strategy, from her self cycle, make sure you purchase a copy. Purchase a copy for yourself because there are 8 different authors that are in this anthology who are sharing perspective in many different areas. We have the Coach My Lifestyle section. We have the Coach My Business section. We have the Coach My Leadership section. So make sure you guys are joining us each week to learn the different chapters that are a part of the anthology. But if you know a mommy, listen, I'm telling you, you don't want to sleep on the strategies that are in this book. Go ahead, purchase your copy. Again, the link is in the comments. We're going to make sure the link is in the caption so that you have it an easy, accessible link to click on. And I'm excited about the success of not just this project, but I'm excited about the success of those who are reading the book. As I shared with you guys before, there are actual coaching steps inside of the book. This is our rendition of coaching in a book. So if you have not yet worked with a coach, if you are still trying to figure out if working with the coach is for you, purchase the book. This is going to give you a front row seat to coaching and who we are as coaches. I'm also in the book too. I'll tell y'all what I'm writing about later. But listen, this has been a fantastic talk. I love talking with Tiffany because I just love her. First of all, I just love her, but I just love her area of focus. We met in person for the first time at the 2022 shift conference, right? And when I tell you, meeting someone in person versus over a screen, it's a totally different experience. It's a totally different experience. So I just love you. I love you. I love you. Make sure you guys click the link, purchase your copy, make sure you support her business, make sure you support someone else's life,
Yes.
because this could definitely change their life. We love you guys. Have a fantastic week, and make sure you join us next week. Who are we talking to next week? I don't know, but I'll make sure to let you guys know. I'm going to post about it. Wait, you know what? Let me not do that. Let me look. Hold on. It's
Okay.
okay. I know we live. It's all right. Let me look. How about I just stop and look? Let me see. Are we talking to next week? I'm going to my itinerary. Let's see. Next week we are talking to. Oh, we're talking to one of my other favorites, business success coach Pat. She's
Woo!
gonna come in and talk. Listen. If you have not, if you're trying to turn a product, if you're trying to turn your coaching, your talk, if you're trying to turn it into a product, make sure you're here next week. She is
Please.
a part of our Coach My Business category, and you want to make sure you are present for that next Tuesday at 7 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. Outside of that, have a fantastic week, and we'll see you guys next week. Be blessed.
You.